Walmart is a great place to fill your prepper pantry and grab some prepping gear. Today, I'm going to show you my top picks and maybe a few things not to buy at Walmart. Hey guys, it's Jara with Wicked Prepared. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I am sitting here today getting ready to go into Walmart. Walmart is such a ubiquitous store. I feel like they're everywhere and just about everyone has access to a Walmart. Let me know down in the comments, how far are you from your nearest Walmart? And how do you feel about Walmart? Do you love it, hate it, or indifferent? Where I live, it's one of our only options for shopping. It's not far from my house and the prices are good. So I do quite a fair amount of my shopping here. I thought today I would take you into Walmart with me and show you my favorite prepper pantry items and prepper gear at Walmart. If you're just getting started, and especially if you're on a tight budget, this is going to be the place for you. And I know I have seen a huge uptick lately with everything that's going on in the world. We've seen a lot of people who are finally saying, okay, now I'm a little scared. Now I'm ready to do this. They've known for a long time it's something that they should be doing, but they've put it off until now and they just know they can't put it off any longer. So they're getting food into their homes, they're getting supplies into their homes, and this will be great for people like that. But even if you're a seasoned prepper, you can always add to your preps at Walmart. So let's go in and get started. You can take care of many of your most basic prepping needs at Walmart. And one of the first things that many people start their prepping efforts with, of course, is food. You can easily build a good basic prepper pantry on a budget at Walmart. Starting with that good old basic prepper staple, beans and rice. Walmart is a great place to buy rice. It's about the cheapest place that I've found to buy plain white rice, which everyone should have a good stockpile of. I usually buy this 20-pound bag, which is the best bargain when you look at the price per pound. Rice is a staple that over half of the world depends on for about 80% of their nutrition. It's very inexpensive, it has a very long shelf life, and it's fairly hypoallergenic. Rice allergies are very rare. It can be served for any meal from breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it can be also used to stretch many other types of foods. Don't overlook parboiled rice as an option. The parboiling process makes it higher in nutrients and also easier to digest. I thought since it was parboiled that maybe it didn't need to be rinsed, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I never realized this until recently, but apparently you're supposed to rinse your rice before cooking to reduce the arsenic content. Isn't that nice? So that's something to keep in mind for prepping purposes, since obviously rinsing uses water. Another rice that's great to have in your prepper pantry is instant rice, also known as minute rice. Because it's been cooked and dehydrated, it doesn't even really require any cooking. Just adding boiling water and letting it set is enough to make it ready to eat. That is a big bonus when it comes to emergency cooking. And then of course we have beans. Walmart has great prices on beans, but the best price is going to be on the pinto beans because they come in the largest bag with the smallest unit price. One negative to these is, of course, they do require soaking and quite a long cooking time or pressure cooking. So you might want to consider either canned beans, which are already cooked and ready to go, or lentils. If you want to know a little bit more about why I really love lentils and recommend them highly for your prepper pantry, check out the video I did on the healthiest foods for your prepper pantry. I will link that one down below in the description box. Some of the positives of the dried beans, like the rice, they also have a very long shelf life, and you can actually sprout these pinto beans, plant them, and grow green beans from them. So I consider this a multi-purpose item. Besides rice and beans, I think a great food to stock up on for your prepper pantry is pasta. Pasta lasts a very long time and it's very inexpensive, especially if you buy it in the bulk packages. I usually buy the whole wheat pasta, and I have some that I've had around for years and I haven't had any trouble with it going bad or anything like that. So as long as you can store your beans, rice, and pasta in a way that keeps moisture and bugs out of it, it should last a very long time. Don't forget to pick up sauces to go with your pasta. There are so many options, from a red sauce to Alfredo to pesto. You can even get canned clam sauce, which is my favorite. This can give you a lot of different options so that you don't get sick of eating the same thing over and over again. Food fatigue is real. You can even mix two sauces together for something different. For example, the Alfredo sauce could mix with any of the other sauces for a creamy version. And if you start adding in some canned meats and canned veggies, the options of meals are endless. That brings us to the next prepper pantry staple that's great to stock up on at Walmart: canned foods. I already mentioned canned beans, but every prepper pantry should have a good supply of canned fruits and vegetables, including plenty of tomato products. If you worry about the sodium content of these, there are no salt added varieties available. Walmart is also a great place to buy canned meats. Protein is such an important component of any food storage, and canned meats is one great way to get that. Walmart has some of the best deals on canned chicken, especially if you buy it in these bulk packs. Some other good options from Walmart include roast beef, diced ham, corned beef, and canned hams. And of course, we can't forget that old faithful prepper standby, Spam. There's many flavors and varieties available, but I actually prefer to get the Great Value brand because it's cheaper and we like it just fine. And of course, don't forget about canned tuna, another protein staple if that's something that you and your family like. It's also important to stock canned complete meals that can be eaten right out of the can if needed. Things like soups, beef stew, chili or baked beans, and canned pastas. Always watch your unit prices when shopping at Walmart or anywhere else. We usually assume we're getting the best deal when we buy the generic or store brand, but look at these canned pastas, for example. The name brand ends up being cheaper per ounce and per can when you buy it in these multi-packs. We also tend to assume it's a better deal to buy in bulk or buy larger packages. And while this is often true, it's not always the case. Look at these two broths. The larger family size has a higher unit price than the smaller carton. So always be careful and check. When shopping in this area, watch out for items like these that require additional fresh ingredients like butter, milk, or fresh meat. That doesn't mean you can't include them in your food storage, just that you need to account for those additional ingredient requirements somehow. Instant potatoes are another great thing to add to your prepper pantry at Walmart. I always look for the ones that don't require additional ingredients, like butter and milk, the just add water potatoes. These will likely have a shorter shelf life than the products that only contain potatoes, but I think you'll find if you practice rotation and store what you eat what you store, you won't be as concerned with shelf life differences like that. Another thing you'll want to stock up on at Walmart is what I call pantry basics. Things like sugar, flour, and oil that can be used to make many other foods from scratch. The reason Walmart really shines here is because of their house brand, Great Value. I find when I look for deals on these items at warehouse clubs and places like that, they often can't beat Walmart's prices because they only carry name brands. And I honestly don't see much difference with this type of food. These items are going to be very important if there comes a time that we can't get basic items like bread, for example, from the supply chain, and we need to make our own. When it comes to flour, you will get a longer storage time from whole wheat berries, and I did once get a wicked good deal on 4-gallon pails of wheat berries from Augustin Farms through Walmart, but generally speaking, there are better places to buy your wheat, your whole wheat. But it's still important to have a supply of ready ground flour on hand, especially if you don't have a manual grain grinder. I think most of us use flour on a pretty regular basis, so keeping a 1 to 2 year rotating supply should be pretty easy. And Walmart is a great place to get it. A couple other things in the same area of the store. Don't forget your seasonings, broths, and bouillons. These things can go a long way towards making the other foods you store palatable and creating a variety of meals that you won't get sick of eating. The most important of these is salt. Not only is salt the most basic seasoning, it's a necessary nutrient our bodies need to survive. It's also used in food preservation. It's recommended to store 5 to 8 pounds of salt per person per year. Salt is cheap at Walmart, so buy a lot of it, buy more than you think you need. It's a forever food, so it won't go bad before you can use it. You'll also find a variety of shelf-stable milk options here, but for the most part, this is not my favorite place to buy these. Shelf-stable milk cartons like these can be a great addition to your short-term emergency pantry, but the price here is not good. You can get the same thing at Dollar Tree for $1.25. For longer-term storage, instant milk powder is the way to go. However, the type that is generally sold at Walmart and many other grocery stores is usually not very tasty and doesn't appeal to many people as just straight milk, although it can be used as a baking and cooking ingredient. My local store doesn't carry it, but many Walmarts carry Nido, which is a powdered whole milk that's a much better tasting option. You won't find that here in the baking aisle, though. It's usually carried in the Hispanic food section of the store. In that same section, you will also find another one of my favorite dairy products to store. That is canned media crema, which is sort of a light/heavy cream product in a can, which is great, and it's very versatile. It's a great addition to your prepper pantry. I always make sure I have a good supply of these, and Walmart is a great place to buy them. You can turn this product into all sorts of things like butter and sour cream, and you can use it to add a creamy touch to many dishes. If your store doesn't carry them in person, you can sometimes find them available for shipping online. The other shelf-stable milk that I do like to buy at Walmart is the canned evaporated milk, which is back in the baking aisle. This is another good thing to have on hand, and the Great Value brand is a great price. My store also carries these really small little cans of Carnation brand, and I like to have a few of these on hand because if you only need a little bit of milk, in an emergency situation when the power might be out, it's better to have the precise amount you need and not have a lot of leftovers that you'd need to refrigerate. Another basic item that everyone needs to stock up on is vinegar. Plain white vinegar. Not so much as a food item, but it has lots of other uses as well, but it's sold here with the food. Food preservation is a big one of the big uses for this. Vinegar can be used to make pickles and increase the acidity of certain foods for safe preservation. It's also very valuable for cleaning and laundry purposes. The price just recently went up on this white vinegar at Walmart, and so now I'm actually able to find a better price on this at Sam's Club. But if this is the only option available to you, it's not that bad. Next, we have some breakfast options. Oatmeal is a good, inexpensive option to have in your food storage. And honestly, these flavored instant packets are fine. You don't have to get just plain oatmeal. I mean, you should have some plain oatmeal, but we keep a lot of these packets on hand. They're already flavored. All you have to do is pour boiling water on them and they're ready to eat. I buy so many of these. I have some that have been around for years with no special storage measures, and they're still perfectly fine. Pancake mix is another good breakfast option for your prepper pantry. Make sure you get the complete Just Add Water mix, which most of them are, I think. And don't forget the syrup. Drink mixes are another good prepper pantry item to get from Walmart. These can be good to make your water taste better, which can be an issue if you're drinking water that's been stored or treated with certain purifying agents. They can also help if you get sick of drinking just plain water, which some people do. Some of the fancier mixes with electrolytes can even serve as part of your first aid preps. Another area to fill your prepper pantry at Walmart is nuts and peanut butter. Nuts can have a somewhat shorter shelf life, but they are an important source of protein, good fats, and concentrated calories when food is in short supply. Just like everything else, make sure to rotate. To go along with all this food, we're going to need water. Water is so very important. It's arguably the most important part of your preparedness plan, probably even more important than the food. After all, you can live longer without food than you can without water. And water is necessary to prepare a lot of this food that we just talked about filling our prepper pantry with. An emergency water plan really needs to comprise two parts: storage of clean, safe water and methods to purify gathered water. Neither one of these alone is enough. There are a lot of options for water storage beyond what's available at Walmart. I have a whole video on that I will link down below in case you want to check it out. But there are some things at Walmart that are worth getting, especially if you're limited in your resources. We like to keep a good supply of single-serve water bottles on hand that we rotate through. Rotation is key here because these flimsy little bottles will not last forever. But they're good to have on hand because they're grab and go. I also always keep a case of these in my vehicle. The kids are always grabbing one if they forgot to pack their water bottle or they have a friend who needs a drink or anything like that. So they do get rotated very quickly. If you decide to store gallon water bottles, this can be a good place to get them, but always go with this more clear type rather than the milk jug type because they're less likely to spring leaks. Walmart does have these water storage containers in their sporting goods department. They're not bad because they're very narrow, so you could slip them in many different places and store quite a bit in a small area. But they wouldn't be my first choice. Personally, I choose to store a lot of our water in these jugs. These jugs right here that I find over near the hardware department. The reason these work well for our family is because we do use a water cooler for hot and cold water, and so I can keep these rotated without having to worry about it. Because you definitely don't want to have your water going stale from just sitting. There are water preservers that you can use, but I've never seen those at Walmart. And I prefer to just rotate most of our water supply. These jugs here are stackable, and so I can store quite a few of them. Our tap water is good, so I just fill them up from the tap, store them down cellar, use them on the water cooler, and they stay rotated. Easy peasy. Like I mentioned, there are lots more options for storing water that may be better than these, but nothing that's available here at Walmart. For water filtering and treatment, we're going to head down to the sporting goods part of the store, which is where we're going to spend most of the rest of our time today. They have a lot of great gear down there that can fill a lot of your prepping needs. They have these water purifying tablets that I always like to have on hand. They're very portable. You can stash them anywhere and keep them with you at all times. You can also buy bleach at Walmart. That can serve as a means to purify water. However, bleach has a very short shelf life of 6 to 9 months before it starts to lose its disinfecting powers. So a better choice is storing pool shock. This is something that you can usually find at Walmart, at least during the spring and summer months. I'm sure maybe in warmer climates where people use their pools year-round, it might be available year-round, but it certainly is not in my store here in Maine. But with pool shock, a little bit goes a very long way, so just be careful how you store it because it's very caustic, and you can have it on hand during the times when it's not readily available. I definitely don't think it's a bad idea to have a 6-month supply or so of bleach on hand and rotate through it regularly, which most of us easily do with normal cleaning and laundry. But don't rely on it for your long-term needs. Besides water purification, everyone should also have some sort of water filtration system. Wal-mart carries the Sawyer brand, the Sawyer Minis, and these other couple of Sawyer filters. These are known to be a very, very good brand. They are small but mighty. You can see here that this filter can filter up to 100,000 gallons. It's a great option to start with for someone who's just starting out and maybe is on a limited budget or has limited places to shop. They're also very portable, so if you need to put one in a bug out bag or an evacuation kit or in your vehicle, they're great for that. This right here is something new. Walmart used to carry Life straws, I'm pretty sure. I don't see Life straws here anymore, but I do see this brand, which I'm not familiar with, so I can't really vouch for it, but it looks very similar to a Life straw with the added feature that you can screw it onto a water bottle, which is a great option. Moving on from water, everyone needs a way to cook their food if the power's out. This would also give you one more way of sanitizing your water by boiling it. If you've watched any of my cooking videos, you've probably seen me using my butane burner, which I absolutely love. And I got it here at Walmart. This is the burner that I have right here, this Coleman. Butane stoves are considered safe to use indoors. They're commonly used in catering and some Asian countries for indoor cooking. So this is my #1 choice for cooking indoors during a grid down emergency. I will say it's better to be safe than sorry. You should always have basic emergency measures and precautions like a carbon monoxide detector and a fire extinguisher handy when you're using alternative fuels. And you guessed it, Walmart is a great place to pick these up. This little stove comes with its own carrying case, and it's quite powerful and simple to use and fairly inexpensive. At the time that I bought mine, which was only a few years ago, it cost less than $20. Of course, now it's up to $30, just that's the way things are going. But if you look right here next to it, it actually took me a minute to figure out what was going on here. Walmart has come out with its own brand, the Ozark Trail brand, of basically the exact same butane burner. It has a case and everything just like the Coleman. Now, I've never tried this one, so I can't vouch for it, but I'm willing to bet that it probably works just as well as the Coleman. In fact, my burner that I've been using at home, I've broken the hinge on the case, and so I was thinking about picking up an extra one, so maybe I'll grab one of these to give it a try and let you know how it is. I don't necessarily recommend picking up the butane fuel at Walmart. They do have the Coleman brand of fuel, but I can usually get a better deal buying the off-brand at either the Asian market when I can get there or Amazon when it's on sale. Walmart is a decent place, however, to pick up the smaller propane canisters. We keep several grill tanks filled at home for emergency purposes, but it's always nice to have a few of these small canisters on hand as well. Walmart sells them in a 2-pack and a 4-pack for greater savings. Walmart also carries several options of very small portable little camp stoves if you need an option for keeping in your vehicle or stashing in your bug out bag or something like that. Another thing that we use for cooking all the time when we're off-grid camping that we get right at Walmart is a cast iron Dutch oven. You can see that this one is out of stock. These things are awesome for off-grid. Just have some charcoal handy, which is also a great purchase at Walmart. And you can get your coals going, put coals under the pot and coals on top of the pot and bake right in your Dutch oven. I've done cakes like this, one-pot dinners, all sorts of things. You can also use campfire coals if you don't have any charcoal. You can stack multiple Dutch ovens on top of one another to cook multiple courses all at once, like dinner and dessert, or dinner and a bread to go with it, anything like that. And then one other thing that we've picked up at Walmart that we keep as part of our preps is this Camp Chef stove. This stove is definitely for outdoors. It's not an indoor stove, but we love having it. We do use it for camping, but what a lot of people use these for is canning. So you will want to get a heat diffusing plate if you're going to use it for canning, but this could totally save the day. If the power goes out or the grid goes down for the long term and you're going to lose the food in your freezer, You can whip out your canning jars, your Camp Chef, and get to work saving as much of that food as you possibly can. My Walmart does have a small selection of these Mountain House backpacking meals here in the sporting goods section. You know I'm a big fan of making our own meals out of single ingredient foods, but these type of meals are handy to have available sometimes, and they're perfect for certain people who don't enjoy cooking from scratch as much as I do. Some Walmarts in some parts of the country carry a much larger selection of things like this. Larger Mountain House cans, more of the meals like this, even Augustin Farms number 10 cans. Our Walmart is not one of those that carries these things. However, you can sometimes find them online for shipping. I know when we visited Utah in September, I had to take a walk down the canned meat aisle, and I was super jealous to find the cans of Keystone Meats sold right there on their grocery store shelves. We don't have anything like that here. It's really interesting how different the grocery stores can be between different areas of the country. Some other standout products in the sporting goods department. I actually really like their selection of backpacks. They have even more than this online. I especially like the hydration packs. These allow you to easily carry your water right with you and drink whenever you need to without having to stop. These are great for bug out bags. You can also get the hydration inserts by themselves to add to a pack you already have or replace one that needs replacing. Another thing, right here in this area of the store, Walmart has a decent little selection of watertight cases that you can store gear in that's susceptible to moisture damage. They also have some wet dry bags that can be really good in your bug out bag and things like that. Right down here, they have a toilet seat that is meant to go on a 5-gallon pail. Don't overlook that very basic need in an emergency situation. If you don't have running water or you're holed up down in a cellar or another area without facilities, you're going to need a way to relieve yourself. You don't have to have a toilet seat like this. You can actually use a pool noodle, which is also a great thing to get at Walmart, especially if you can pick them up on clearance at the end of the season. We use pool noodles for lots of things, and those things always seem to pop up in the middle of the winter when they're not readily available, so we always grab extra. But if you have a toilet seat like this, you can easily snap it onto a 5-gallon pail. Walmart also has some waste bags to go along with it. If you'd like to see how I put together a whole toilet and hygiene kit in a 5-gallon bucket, I'll leave the link to that video down below. My Walmart sells Bleed Stop with the backpacking supplies here. This is a must-have item for all of your first aid kits. Now let's talk a little bit about shelter, or rather about staying warm. If the power goes out during the winter, which it tends to do for a lot of us, here in Maine we have ice storms occasionally that can leave the power out for weeks for some people. Many of us probably remember the ice storms they had in Texas a couple of years ago. It can be a very dangerous situation if you don't have a way to keep yourself warm. One thing that we have from Walmart are these Mr. Buddy heaters. You can see that this model right here is out of stock. I think this is one that we have. You know, I find this to be very telling that so much of the best emergency gear is out of stock. And here's another example where I see that Walmart has now come out with an Ozark Trail brand of the same thing. This is just like the heater over here that's out of stock, but obviously cheaper. So this one might be worth giving a try. Now, a heater like this is not going to heat your entire home, so you need to close off areas and heat smaller spaces. This microclimate concept is very important to remember. I do have a video all about surviving a winter power outage. If you'd like to see that, I will link that one down below as well. So definitely go down to the video description when you're done with this video, because we've got several more videos down there that go a little bit more in depth with some of the things I've talked about today. But another way that you can create a microclimate is with a tent. It might seem strange to set up a tent within your home, but setting up a small tent and packing the warm bodies into it can raise the temperature quite a bit and hold the warmth in and help you survive in frigid temperatures. Some people have even set the tent right up on top of their bed and slept inside the tent on the bed. You don't want a very big tent for this. You wouldn't be able to set up a large tent indoors very easily, and it wouldn't do as good of a job at containing the warmth. Walmart has several tents that would be good for this purpose. In fact, I even found one in the clearance aisle today. Besides tents and propane heaters, another great thing to have is some warm base layers to put under your clothing. And I like to pick these up at Walmart sometimes. Cuddle Duds is a good brand that they have at Walmart. In fact, usually at Black Friday, which is coming right up, they have a really good price on these. So keep an eye out for that. Or join our new group, Wicked Prepared Prepping Deals and Steals, where I'll be posting deals on all sorts of prepping and survival gear. You can also find things like thermal socks, gloves, and hats at Walmart, which can really save you in a winter power outage. It's also a decent place to pick up disposable hand, foot, and body warmers. Power outages during the winter can be very dangerous, but we also need to consider power outages during the heat of summer, which can also be dangerous in its own right. One of my favorite preps, and something that has been one of the most popular items that I have ever shown on this channel, is this battery-operated fan right here. It can be run off of batteries or a cord. It folds down flat so it's easy to store, and it works great. And look, right here beside it, they actually have a smaller version now as well. Also in the sporting goods section, Walmart is a pretty decent place to pick up things like flashlights and headlamps. Headlamps are a crucial thing to have in case you need to use your hands when you're working in a dark environment. Walmart has everything from really cheap flashlights, which I love because you can buy a ton of them and just stash them everywhere, to more expensive, heavy-duty, high-lumen flashlights and lanterns. One thing I don't buy too often at Walmart anymore is batteries. If you have to have the name brand batteries, I find the warehouse clubs are usually a little bit of a better deal for those. I do buy off-brand batteries, and Walmart has a great value battery that I've purchased and been happy with, but Amazon has better deals on their Amazon Basics brand of batteries. Before we head out of this sporting goods department, let's check out the knife case. This one has a lot of out-of-stock items, but Walmart does carry some decent brands of knives for a good price, so pick up a few of these for your emergency supplies. Over in the hardware department, I have already mentioned these 5-gallon pails that Walmart sells. This is a really good price for the 5-gallon pails if you have to purchase them. Sometimes you can get them for free from a bakery or a restaurant or something similar. In fact, sometimes people actually get them for free or just $1 or $2 right from the Walmart bakery. But if you have to purchase them, Walmart has a great price, and these buckets are food-grade buckets. They also have lids for the buckets. You can use them for a number of things, among them the emergency toilet, like I mentioned earlier, and many people use them to store bulk dry goods in the prepper pantry. Moving on to housewares, Walmart is really one of the best places to buy canning equipment and supplies. This is very important to have if you preserve your own food, but it's also important to have a supply for that situation like I talked about earlier, if you have a power outage and you have to save the food that you're going to lose from your freezer. Or if we find ourselves in some long-term situation where we're depending on our stored food and on growing, raising, and foraging food, you're going to need a way to preserve the excess for leaner times. Walmart has some of the best prices I've found on canning jars. I personally choose to get my lids elsewhere, but this little canner down here, this is the canner that I have that I've been using for years. It's not the biggest and it's not the fanciest. You can only do a single layer of quarts or pints, but I have done so much canning with this little canner. It's simple, it's easy to use, and it does the job. Especially if you're just starting out, this is a great canner to get started with. I also bought my water bath canner here, although I don't see the one that I have in stock right now. You also can't go wrong with their $2 canning funnel. I use this for all sorts of things, from my canning to freeze-dried meals in jars and everything in between. A couple other sections of the store to check out for preps are cleaning, personal care, and first aid. These are items that you want to make sure you have a good stockpile of in case you're unable to get them for any reason. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but I am a big proponent of stocking up on extra of what you already use, rather than buying something cheap that you won't use otherwise. We don't want things just sitting there gathering dust. But for cleaning supplies, what I usually stock up on, I already mentioned the vinegar earlier and bleach. And other than that, the things that I like to have on hand are disinfecting wipes, a multi-purpose Lysol concentrate that can be used in a variety of ways. I use this in cleaning buckets. I dilute this in spray bottles and use it as a multi-purpose cleaner. One little bottle has lots of uses and lasts a very long time. And the other thing that I keep on hand is this simple bleach cleaning spray. Up until recently, this was only 98 cents. Toilet paper is another great prep to stock up on at Walmart. This is giving me 2020 flashbacks. Walmart is my favorite place to buy toilet paper. Generally, even comparing the prices to the warehouse clubs that I shop, I can usually get a better price at Walmart, unless something is on sale at one of those other places. This is the toilet paper that I usually buy, but my store doesn't stock the very large package that I like to get, so I usually order it and have it shipped. I will have links for most of these things down in the description box below the video, so you can check them out if you want to. For personal care items, same as cleaning items, it doesn't have to be anything special, but I really recommend just buying extra of what you already use. It's not going to go bad. Think of the things that you definitely wouldn't want to be without if you suddenly couldn't get them from the store. Shampoo, conditioner is a must for our household, body wash, deodorant, toothpaste. And I like to stock up in bulk on these cheap packs of 6 toothbrushes. Until recently, they were only $1 for 6. I can keep a ton of them on hand, knowing we'd have toothbrushes for quite a while in a long-term grid down situation. But in the meantime, they really come in handy for overnight guests who forgot a toothbrush and things like that. Keep an eye out for clearance prices in this area. Usually once a year, they'll do a clearance on this whole section, and sometimes I can stock up on enough for a year or more at that time. First aid supplies is another thing that I buy quite a lot of at Walmart. One of my favorite finds is this little tube of antibiotic ointment for only 88 cents. I stopped buying this at the Dollar Tree when I discovered this. Make sure you have plenty of supplies for wound care. Do not underestimate this. Rubbing alcohol is another multi-purpose item that's good to have on hand. It can be used for disinfection and sanitization and for a fuel as well. Okay guys, that's all for today's video. Those are some of my top picks for prepper gear and supplies at Walmart. It's impossible to put everything into one video, so let me know down in the comments, what are some of your favorite preps to pick up at Walmart? If you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave me one of these emojis down in the comments. And check out this video up here next, where I put Walmart up against Dollar Tree for some common preps to see who comes out on top. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.